Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of the Wish Doctor's Guide to ServiceNow. We're up for number 28 and today we're going to take a look for another Orlando feature called the Robust Transform Engine, also RTE, or the Extract Transform Load, ETL. A lot of abbreviations, let's see if we can remember them all. But before I go into that one, I will try to get my PowerPoint to work. There we go. My name is Goran Lundqvist, aka the Witch Doctor. Hopefully you've seen me before in some of the other videos. So I won't dig into this bullet point just like I say in every video. But basically I've been a customer, I've been a partner, working for a partner, and now working for ServiceNow themselves as a developer. Try to help out in the community by responding on the community. I don't do so many blog posts more, I just try to do the videos. Been a ServiceNow MVP for 4th year in a row now. If you want to connect with me, ask questions, or just talk about ServiceNow or something else, you got my connections over there. I finally learned where they are. I also wrote a book last year, so I guess it's soon time to start nagging about it, but it's still valid, so just a quick one. The Witch Doctor's Guide to ServiceNow. I tried to write down a lot of my knowledge, stuff that mistakes I did, that hopefully you can learn of and don't do the same stuff I did. Here's a few bullet points on what that actually exists in the book, and I wrote it from Madrid and we're already on Orlando, so time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Enough about that, let's move on to the fun stuff. So, what is the robust engine and what is the ETL stuff? How does it work? And what's the difference between using this and the good old transform maps that we're used to do? So let's skip this one. And before I start, I would like to say that on the documentation site, docs, there is some really good, there's a lot of information, and this functionality is really big and I won't really go through all of it. I will show you hopefully a working transform and load of data, but it's not a big complex one, but I think you will get how it works. So let me just see the correct screen. Here we go. So if I just type robust, and don't ask me where robust comes from, I have actually no clue. Anyway, robust, let's click on that one to start. And let's just take one, because we can always click on the breadcrumbs to get to the first one, I will say in here. So basically this is a new way of get data into ServiceNow instead of having transform maps. It's more flexible, you can do a lot more tweaking with it. It's faster because you can run it as a batch. It's also in a way faster because the way it's set up, you don't need to read multiple times from the insert or import set table. And we'll go through that when I'll show you, when I'll do the demo. But basically, what can I say, if you go to move data into multiple tables, you have noticed that your insert set rows is one row per table per data. So if I have a user, that one will become row 1. If I want to move that user or that row, because we also have information about the computers in the computer, which, let me show you the Excel sheet and you might understand what I'm talking about. So let's say you have an Excel sheet like this. First name, last name, email, then I have a computer name, vendor, installation date. I want this data to actually, I might want to create a user, or at least I would like to fetch the user record, so I can assign the computer, which I insert in the computer table, to that user. In transfer maps, you need to do 2 transfer maps, one probably for the user to do the insert if there are one, and then one for the computers, meaning you have to do 2 read operations. But with new one, you don't need it. But I've been testing it a little bit, and I must say that depending on your situation, this might be overkill, because it can actually take more time to build this than actually just using a transform map. Oh look, I got an email. Let me just turn off my emails. That was our beautiful health scan application we have here at ServiceNow. I don't know if I dare to go in and see the results of our instance. Anyway, let's get back here. So basically in this scenario, it's not so complex, and I won't go through, and there we go. We have the Slack channel. Let me turn off the Slack channel as well. Let's quit that one. Yeah, hopefully I won't be disturbed anymore now. So, where was I? Yeah, depending on your situation, you might think this as an overkill, because right now this is the first release. They don't have all the easy things that actually works in transform maps, and I really hope they will come in perhaps Paris, or what's the next one, I don't really know. But anyway, let's stop talking about that and let's show you how it's done instead. So let's go back, and why do I look over there? So I have pre-built this just so you don't have to click me, see me fill in all the names, and I'll just walk through how I've done it. I just created a data source. I attached the Excel file you saw earlier. And then, as you can see down here, we have a new related list called Robust Transformer. So I'll click on that one. So this is the first thing you need to create. So I created this one. And mainly the most important thing to figure out here is the transform definition. And there is where you build all the logic that you want to do. Another two things that might be good to know is you have the batch type. Since this is running batch, you can define how many rows per batch you want to do. I haven't really tested to see what's good, what's bad. And you have a verbose, which I can actually uncheck, because if you check this one, you get a lot more logging done. Because I had some issues earlier with my user didn't really want to be populated. So I turned that one on and I actually found the issue. So when you create a new robust set transformer, the first thing you need to do is actually do the transform definition. So this one is empty, and I don't know why, but I haven't really found it out here in either. I can't even spell. Transform. It doesn't seem to pop up there. So basically what you need to do is click on this one and click on new. And that was what I did. So you have, let's no, discard. And here it is. Now what we can say here is you have something called ETL entitles. That is basically what you can call the tables you're going to use. So you need to create which tables am I going to use in this transform map. And as you can see, in my case, I will only want to create computers. So I have one for the computer table. I have to define the import set table, and I have a temp table that I land first. And this is because I'm going to show you there are some really nice functionality where you can, without writing a lot of scripting, do some transformations and operations on the data before you actually put it in the target field, which is really nice. What was it more I'm going to say? If you don't do that, you actually don't need to create a temp table. Of course, if you want to. The big thing about this is I create a temp table. I can do all the magic there one time and then put all that data into different tables. I don't need to redo it like you actually need to do with multiple transform maps. So how does these entitlements look like? Let's click on the import set. This is basically just, here you can see we have all the fields, or not all the fields. This is the fields I have decided that I actually want to have in this ETL entity. I can't even pronounce that entity. ETL entity. That's a tricky one. Oh, maybe not. But. And this is basically really easy. Put in the name what you want to call this field. Then you need the column name, not the label of the actual field. The rest of the stuff are pre-filled. Right now we're not going to create stuff in this field because we're loading data from it. So here I have basically just defined all those. So let's go back, and I clicked on the wrong arrow. Now let's go to our temp table. Here you can see, oh, I forgot to show you. On the table, on the import set entity, I have, of course, the table name. This is a temp table. It will just be here for the transformation. So we actually don't have any table to point at. We only have a path. And I can say I haven't really figured out if they're useful for anything else, but right now you just need to have a unique path for this one. And of course a name. And in here you can see I just defined the same stuff, the names and what the field is going to be named. Now for the operations, and here is the fun part, and there are a lot of operations. As you can see, I have actually 3 different things here. I have used something called convert to date, and I have a concatenation, and I actually have a lookup operation. So let's get through these 3. So the convert date is actually, I don't know if you saw it, but on the Excel sheet, let me bring that one up. You can see, where is my Excel? Oh, I hate this. Why can't I see that? There we go. You can see I have the date as month, day, year. And that's not the same format as we have in ServiceNow, which I'm using at least. So basically the only thing I need to do is say, this is the format in the Excel sheet, how that one is set up. Month, day, year. And then I would like to convert that date and put that value in this field, which is the same as the source field. So let's convert it and save it there. That is a pretty simple operation, which I would have needed to do some coding to actually be able to do, which is nice to do it without coding. And of course without a little bit of user error, I guess. Next one is the concatenation. Create module. And you can see, depending on what operation you have, you will see different fields popping up. So in this case, I say that the source fields, and as you can see, I can select whichever fields I want. You can see the table and the name. I noticed, I don't know if it's meant to be or not, but remember to click, if you have almost the same names, click on the one that is in the correct table. So here I have selected 2, computer name and vendor, concatenation, and it will be saved in this field. Pretty easy as well, right? And the last one, which is actually getting the sysID of the user. I only have first name, last name and email. So I'm going for the email. So what have I done here? I selected the glide lookup operation, said that the source field, the data I'm going to use, is in this field. I want to put, in this case I want to save the email, so I'll just have another field in the temp table and put the sysID in that field. And you can see down here I said this is the field you're going to look for, matching the source data in this table, and this is what you're going to return. Some of these fields have really good help, and of course it won't pop up now. I don't know why. Never mind, it has really good help. And this is also done. Let's go back. So those are the 3 manipulation of data I do before I actually put it in the computer table. And if you look at computer, it basically 4 fields. The field names is the field name on the computer table, of course, and I said that the name should be the one that our coalesce. So One thing I've noticed, and remember I'm just playing around with this, so it's all new to me as well, is the synchronized inserts. And I guess that if you remember, you can actually batch run transform maps as well. But if you have multiple tables, you might not actually have them synced all together. I think by checking this one, it will make sure that it will only be one record that will be created, and you can't run into those issues. I haven't tested it yet, but I think that's what it's for. Before we move on, one thing that you've noticed that in transform maps you have the auto mapping fields, for example. It doesn't exist here. You need to create it by hand or build a script that does it for you. But I bet either I haven't found it or it will show up in a later release as well. So that's where I'm talking about. If you're just going to move data from the input set into one table and you don't need to do so much manipulation of data, I'm not sure that this one will be the correct choice. It's faster to create a transform map. It might be faster performance-wise later on if you have a lot of data, so that might be the reason you will still go here. But I would recommend testing that one out before saying going one way or another. So what have we looked at now? We have looked at the different ETL entities that we have created, the 3 ones. Let me go back to show you. Is it? Oh, I have a mirror window on my widescreen, so sometimes my mouse is on the wrong screen, so that's why nothing happens when I click around. So this is the definition. I built those 3 entities, and in the temp table we have the different operations. Let me go back to that one. I just want to show you that when I click on new, here is, oh sorry, not that one, on the operations, you will see this is all right now the cool stuff you can do. And as you can see, there are a lot of stuff that you can actually do. The one things I showed you were pretty much the concatenation, the glide lookup, and the date. That's the 3 ones I showed you. And I have no clue what all of these other stuff do, but you can see you can probably do a lot of cool stuff and don't even need to do scripting in most cases. So let's go back to the definition. We have the tables, and then we have the last form, the mapping. So this is pretty much the thing you need to do as well, of course, but the last thing we need to do. So from the import set table to the temp table, and you can see the order is 100, and then from the temp table to the computer table. And basically it just looks like the normal mapping. This field should be in here. And this is where I would like to have the auto mapping. Nope, nothing there either. Just clicking around to see if I missed something. So I put the import sets to the temp, and here you can see you can define which, you don't need to put all the fields, which also can make the performance better. And for the computers, you can see here are other fields from the temp table, and you can see I take advantage of my temp user where the sysid and put that into the assign to. So I have vendor to vendor, user to assign to, installation date to installation date, and computer name to name. So how does it work? Let's go back to the data source. And you will notice that since I have defined everything here, I don't need to move over transform maps and stuff like that. I'll just load the data once more, or just to show you. Created on today, there is nothing, and my computer starts with COM. There is nothing, and now to the final moment, let's load the data, and now you can see there is a run robust transform. I have no clue if you can actually make both a transfer set map and a robust transform, but who wants to do that? Let's just click on that one. Want to do it? Yes. And done. Let's go to computers, reload. Whew. And there we go. We have my 2 users, manufacturers, the installation date, and I just put created. You can see that it's actually now that those were created, so you didn't think I was cheating or something. So this is just, I would almost call this a fundamental video of how you can actually use this robust transform engine. There is so much more to do, and this video can probably take an hour or 2 just going through those as well. But if you're on Lando or going over there, I would recommend you take a look at this one, because it's really cool and really easy. And remember, the ETL definitions is reusable as well. So about that, I will say thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.